Season 1 of the Korean series DPTO begins with a soldier in the Korean army named Jun. He's standing in an office with a senior soldier named Hwang. We see Hwang treating him very badly. He keeps pushing him until he hits the wall behind him. And we notice there's a nail sticking out of the wall. A little later, Jun bumps into the wall. At that moment, the scene shifts back in time to his last day before joining the army. We see that he works as a delivery guy at a pizza restaurant. He's very upset about having to join the army, because in South Korea, military service is mandatory. That day, Jun goes out to deliver orders. He's clearly frustrated, annoyed, and mentally drained. He keeps getting into arguments with customers. When he returns to the restaurant at the end of the day, he gets into a fight with his boss, who tells him all the customers are complaining about him. So the boss decides to fire him and refuses to pay him his pending wages. Jun then decides to take revenge. He takes the motorcycle he used for deliveries and keeps it for himself in exchange for the unpaid money. The next day, Jun sells the motorcycle and sends the money to his mother so she can use it while he's in the army. Then Jun goes to start his military service. On his first day, he's extremely nervous and anxious, not knowing what his future will look like. There are a huge number of new soldiers there, and each of them says goodbye to their families, except Jun, who comes alone. Jun begins his 5-week basic training. After 5 weeks of exhausting training and limited food, the day comes when the soldiers are assigned to their units. The commander chooses soldiers who are taller than 175 centimeters to join the military police. Of course, Jun is one of them. When he arrives at the military police base, there's a senior soldier named Hwang. Hwang exploits the new recruits. He constantly harasses them, Jun included. One day, Jun is on guard duty at the military prison. During his shift, he hallucinates seeing his father beating his mother inside a cell. His mother begs him for help, but he can't do anything. The next day, Hwang treats him badly again. He pushes him toward the wall with the nail, but Jun manages to avoid the nail at the last second. This angers Hwang even more, so he decides to punish all the soldiers. He orders them to open their lockers. When he searches Jun's locker, he finds letters from his mother. After reading them, he learns that Jun comes from a very poor family and used to help her with household expenses. Hwang mocks him, calling him a poor and homeless kid. Then the commander steps in and separates them. He tells Hwang to leave the new recruits alone. Jun is then called to Commander Park's office. Park tells him he knows that Jun is very smart. He then asks him a strange question about the color of the socks Park is wearing. Jun looks at the reflection in the mirror and tells Park the color of his socks. Park is impressed by Jun's sharp mind and tells him to wait in his office. Later, Park heads to the camp commander's office. Hours pass and night falls. A senior soldier named Sang-gu enters the office. He has a cheerful personality and is very kind. He treats Jun nicely, even though Jun is still a new soldier. He even offers him a cigarette. Then he leaves. At that moment, Jun notices a photo on Park's desk. The photo shows a young man who has deserted the army. That's when Jun realizes Commander Park's job: to catch all soldiers who have gone absent without leave. Jun notices that the man in the photo is holding a bouquet of flowers. The photo is taken from a surveillance camera. When Commander Park returns to the office, Jun tells him that the note on the photo says the man deserted 6 months ago, which means he probably can't use his ID anymore, because the army would track him. That also means he wouldn't be able to buy flowers. So he's probably working at a flower shop, or maybe even a restaurant, in the city. And there's a 100% chance he bought those flowers for someone he loves. Park gets angry at Jun and kicks him out of the office for looking at the photo without permission. The next day, Park talks to Jun and tells him the deserter actually is working as a waiter in a restaurant. So Park offers Jun a spot on the elite team, a special unit of soldiers tasked with tracking down deserters. Jun immediately agrees. His partner on the team is the kind soldier, Sang-gu. On his first mission, Jun travels to a new city to arrest a deserter named Oh Shiok. When they arrive, Jun wants to finish the mission quickly so he can return to the base before any issues arise. But Sang-gu tells him to forget the mission for now and enjoy civilian life a bit. They go to a bar in the city. Jun drinks until he's completely drunk. He gets very sick from drinking too much, so he steps outside the bar to get some fresh air. At that moment, Oh Seok walks by. He borrows Jun's lighter to light a cigarette. Jun gives him the lighter, without realizing that this is Oh Seok, the man he's been looking for. He even tells him, "You can keep the lighter." The next day, Jun wakes up at the bar to the sound of his phone ringing. Commander Park is on the line, and he tells him that Oh Seok took his own life last night by setting fire to the house he was hiding in, and he used Jun's lighter to do it. Here's the English translation of your text. Park gets angry at Jun, blaming him for what happened. On the other hand, Song tries to talk to Jun to help him forget what happened, but Jun lashes out at Song, blaming him for everything, because it was Song who originally suggested they go to the bar. They could have gone straight to Oh Seok's house and arrested him before he ended his life. Jun is overwhelmed with guilt. He starts hitting Song, imagining that he's hitting himself instead. He continues beating him so violently, and without being fully conscious of what he's doing, that he ends up causing serious injuries to Song's face. Because of this, Jun is sent to military prison on charges of assaulting a senior soldier. The next day, the head of the military police, a soldier named Han, is in the hospital because he's sick. He goes into the hospital bathroom and finds a large number of soldiers smoking cigarettes there, so he offers to sell them air freshener, telling them that if anyone catches them smoking, they'll definitely be kicked out of the hospital. He ends up selling them the freshener he brought with him. Then another soldier enters, and Han finds out that he's being sent back to his base. Han gets very upset because he still feels sick, so he decides to leave the hospital along with the other soldiers. Before leaving, he tells the hospital staff that the rest of the soldiers were smoking in the bathroom. At that time, a new officer arrives from the Central Investigation Unit. His name is Do Yub. He arrives at the military police base, where he meets Park and learns that he'll be serving as his assistant. Do Yub tells him he's heard reports about two soldiers fighting each other. Park explains everything that happened. He tells him that Song is in the hospital and Jun is in prison. Do Yub orders him to discharge Song from the hospital and release Jun from prison. Because Jun is a new recruit and didn't even know what he was supposed to do in that situation, he must have simply followed Song's lead. Park is convinced by Do Yub's logic, so he heads to the prison to get Jun out. At that point, Jun is sitting in the prison, sad, depressed, and overwhelmed. He's also refusing to eat, burdened with guilt over what happened during the last mission. One of the prison guards gives him a biscuit to eat and tells him, "You did more than what was expected of you." After that, Commander Park arrives and releases Jun from prison. Jun returns to his room with the other soldiers. There, he meets Han, the new leader of the team. Han is considered the most important person on the team. Jun quickly realizes that Han is arrogant. He always wants to be in the spotlight, stealing credit from the others. All the soldiers treat him like the real commander, except for Hwang, the second most senior member of the team, who's going to be discharged soon. At one point, Hwang gets into a fight with Han, but then the oldest member of the team wakes up from his sleep, so they both back off out of respect for him. The next day, Jun goes out with Han on a new mission to capture a deserter named Choi. Choi has been on the run from the army for a very long time because he loves sleeping, and he couldn't get any sleep in the army, since his fellow soldiers constantly mocked him for it. They used to make Choi wear a gas mask just to go to sleep. The last time he was seen by surveillance cameras, he was sleeping at a train station, right where the train almost hit him. All the photos of him from recent times were taken at night, because he doesn't like to appear during the day, so no one can recognize him. Anyway, Han goes to meet Winnie, Choi's girlfriend. He asks her if she's seen Choi anywhere. He starts telling her that Choi was his friend in the army, and that he used to talk about her all the time because he loved her deeply. He always said she was the love of his life, the girl he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. Winnie gets teary-eyed and can't believe what she's hearing. She tells him that she only dated Choi for 1 month, but she's really happy to know that he loved her that much. At that point, she decides to help Han bring Choi back to the army so he can finish his military service instead of living on the run forever. Because in South Korea, the army never allows a deserter to live a normal life. The next day, Han goes to try and find Choi. He learns from Choi's mother that Choi hasn't contacted her even once, which means he's definitely still alive. Because deserters usually call their families right before they take their own lives, Han takes some money from Choi's mother, promising her that he'll give it to her son. Then, he goes with Jun to the military police investigations office in the city. There, He accesses a website, using that money, hoping to track the websites Choi visited recently in hopes of finding his location. They discover from the logs that Han had been using a fake ID number registered under Winnie's name. That's when Jun remembers what Choi's friend said, that he once saw him in a supermarket at the train station, and the only 2 stations where Choi has been seen so far are the last 2 stations on the train line. The next day, Han and Jun go to the place where Choi had access to the internet. They start searching for him among the people there, but they don't find him. Han is confused. He even starts joking that maybe Choi is a vampire because he only ever seems to appear at night. Then Han says he figured out where Choi is. That night, they go to the train station, and there they find Choi sitting alone in a train car. They realize that Choi had spent most of his time at the train station because, since the day he deserted the army, he never went home. He stayed on the trains all this time so he could sleep in peace, since he loves sleeping. Every night after the train stops running, Choi would go out and live his normal life. That's why he was always seen at night, not because he's a vampire. Anyway, they finally catch him. Han calls Commander Park and tells him the mission was successful, and they're heading back to base. On the way, Choi calls his mother and apologizes for running away from the army and not contacting her all this time. He breaks down crying while talking to her, deeply regretful for what he did. At the same time, Commander Park comes down from his office at the base. He sees a group of soldiers along with the camp commander. They're cutting down trees on the base, which makes Park wonder what the commander is doing so late at night. The next day, Jun returns to his base. He's assigned back to his duty in the military prison, where he guards prisoners who are also soldiers. That night, Jun sees the ghost, or illusion, of Oh Seok, the soldier who ended his own life. Jun feels deeply upset and guilty when he sees him, still unable to forgive himself for what happened to Oh Seok. 10 years earlier, Jun's father was a very abusive man, constantly beating his wife in front of their children. Every day, Jun would see his mother getting beaten, but he was never able to do anything for her. In the present, Jun and Han go on a new mission, this time to catch a soldier who deserted the army, named Mayo. Mayo is very handsome, but at the same time, he's dangerous and was part of a gang before joining the military. We find out he deserted a long time ago and is likely still living somewhere in the city, either at his father's house or at the home of his girlfriend Bim. On the way, Han warns Jun that Mayo used to be a boxer, but Jun reassures him, saying that he also used to box and even won many championships. However, he never actually liked boxing. He only learned it for self-defense because his father used to beat him and his mother. Then, Jun and Han start looking for anything that can lead them to Mayo. They run into 2 other soldiers who are also looking for him. Han knows one of them, so they decide to work together to find Mayo. One of the soldiers gives Han the address of Mayo's girlfriend Bim. He tells him to check there while he goes to Mayo's father's house. But Jun tells Han he's sure Mayo is staying with his father and that the other soldier purposely hid the correct address so he could go catch Mayo himself and earn credit with Commander Park. Luckily, Jun was able to memorize the address from the paper at the last second. That night, Mayo is at his father's house. He's clearly angry and treats his father terribly, blaming him for not having any money or being able to support him. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. He opens it and sees the soldiers coming to arrest him. He immediately runs, and a chase begins. They chase him through the city until they reach a rooftop. During the chase, Han injures his back. Jun catches up and fights Mayo, and a long hand-to-hand fight breaks out between them. Mayo uses his boxing skills, but is shocked to see that Jun is also very skilled in boxing. They keep hitting each other until both collapse to the ground. Mayo manages to get up first and escapes before either of them can move. Back at the base, Commander Park hears about what happened and gets angry, knowing that Commander Doyub might punish him for the failed mission. On top of that, the other soldiers reported that Han and Jun interfered with the mission, but Park decides to risk everything and trust Jun's intelligence. He tells him to continue the mission and catch Mayo. The next day, Jun keeps searching for Mayo all over the city, but still can't find any solid lead. Eventually, He gets information from people in the bars about where Bim works. So June goes there. He and Han go in undercover to meet Bim. June manages to catch her attention. She keeps watching him the entire day. After the party ends, she follows him. She asks him to go have a drink with her. There, Bim tells him she likes him, but she can't be with him because she already has a boyfriend. And she really loves him and is attached to him. Of course she's talking about Mayo. June tells her that he doesn't want a relationship either. He just wanted to get to know her. That's all. She gives him her phone number and takes his number too. They decide to stay friends. The next day, Jun is sitting with Han, trying to figure out a way to catch Mayo. Just then, he gets a call from Bim. She asks him to meet her because she needs help with something. June goes to her quickly. She takes him to the bar where she works. She goes inside and asks her manager for an advance from next month's salary because she wants to give the money to Mayo. Her boss gets angry and tells her that Mayo doesn't love her, that he's just using her for money. She reminds Bim that Mayo always used to hit her and that ever since he deserted the army, he never even checked on her. So the manager refuses to give her the money. Jun takes Bim and quickly leaves the bar. Outside, he offers to give her the money she needs. Bim agrees. The next day, Jun brings her the money. He tells her he's doing it because she's kind and he genuinely wants to help her. He asks her to stay away from Mayo because he really is using her. When she asks why he's helping her at all, he tells her she reminds him of someone he loves. He's talking about his mother, who stayed with his abusive father even though he beat her all the time. Bim thanks June, takes the money, and leaves. June and his team follow her until she arrives at a ship dock by the port. There, she meets Mayo and asks him to go have lunch with her, saying she hasn't seen him in a long time and doesn't know anything about his life lately. But Mayo isn't interested in her. He just wants to take the money and leave. She stops him and tells him he's using her. It becomes clear he doesn't love her. He only loves the money she gives him. Mayo gets angry at her. And suddenly June's team appears and attacks him. Mayo easily beats them and nearly kills one of the soldiers. Bim steps in and tries to stop him. Mayo gets angry at her and is about to hit her too. But June arrives just in time, pushes Mayo away from her, and they get into a fist fight. Bim is terrified and anxious from everything happening, so she runs away and leaves the scene. On the other side, the fight between them keeps going on until June manages to knock him to the ground. That's when his friend Han arrives and holds on to Mayo until they manage to cuff his hands to bring him back to the army. Then they discover that the money in Bim's bag was fake. After that, Bim disappears from the area. She then calls Jun on the phone and thanks him for helping her to return the money she stole from Mayo. It turns out she had hidden the real money before meeting Mayo because she knew Jun was following her. So Bim decides to flee the city with her money. Meanwhile, at the camp, Commander Diop finds out everything that happened. He argues with Commander Park about how his soldiers are still in the city, but Park tells him that his men are the ones who caught Mayo, and without them, no one would have even found him. He also tells Diop that he's willing to take punishment in exchange for his soldiers being recognized as the best in the army. The next day, Jun returns to the camp. There, Commander Diop thanks him for his intelligence in catching Mayo. He tells him that Mayo is the 7th soldier they've managed to return this year, something that has never happened in their history. And since it's only May, there's still plenty of time to bring back more deserters. He promises June and Han a vacation soon as a reward for the success of their missions. At that moment, Commander Park arrives at the office. He looks sad and hesitant to share the news, but he has no choice and tells Jun the news. His father passed away that day. Jun breaks down in tears. Even though he hated his father, he was still shocked by the news. His father's health had worsened badly during his last days in the hospital. The next day, Jun goes to visit his father. When he arrives, he finds that his father really is sick, but still treats him badly as usual. He tells Jun that he needs money to drink, and that their poverty caused him a lot of pain recently, and sent him to the hospital. He mocks Jun and tells him he's worthless, because he won't give him money for alcohol. He threatens to beat him like he used to do if Jun doesn't leave. Jun loses it and tells his father that he wishes for the day he dies, and that when that day comes, he'll be the happiest person alive. Just then, June receives a message on his phone. It's from Han, asking him to come home immediately, his actual family home. When Jun arrives at his house, he sees his mother for the first time in many years. He had been distant from his mom and sister all these years because he couldn't protect them from his abusive father. But his mother seems to have forgiven him. She's clearly overjoyed to see him again. As June prepares to leave with Han, she gives him some money and tells him to keep it. She also tells him that he's welcome to come home anytime. A few days later, Jun and Han are given a new case to arrest a military deserter named Sun. Unlike previous deserters, Sun didn't hate the army or belong to a gang. He was kind and innocent. Everyone who knew him said he was a good person. We learn that Sun was raised by his sick grandmother, the only family he has left. When June goes to speak with her, he discovers that she suffers from dementia and even mistakes Han for her grandson Sun. June reassures her that her grandson is fine, then quietly leaves the house. Outside, he sees a group of construction workers and learns that they're planning to demolish the area. June tells Han that he felt really sorry for the grandma. He couldn't tell her the truth about Sun being a deserter because Sun had lived his life as a model person to everyone who knew him, and June didn't want to destroy that image for her. So they decide to look for him at his university, workplace, or through his friends. After a long search, they find one of his old university friends, who tells them that Sun is a genius. There's no way anyone can catch him. He says Sun would definitely use his intelligence to escape easily. While he's speaking, Han receives a call on his phone. To his shock, it's Sun himself. Sun tells him he knows everything about him and asks him to stop looking for him, saying he'll never be able to find him. Han is stunned and can't figure out how Sun even got his number. So he and Jun take a break to rest, then start thinking of any way to catch Sun. June suspects that Sun might have been one of the construction workers he saw earlier, disguised and watching his grandmother's house. When he saw them leaving her home, he probably got worried about her and went to check on her. At that moment, Sun, saw the phone number Han had left for the grandmother. Because his story was so convincing, they both decided to return to the grandmother's house. The next day, June went to her house again. There, he noticed the workers and spotted one of them wearing a mask. That person tried to hide from them, so June caught him to return him to the military. Han was deeply impressed by June's intelligence because he managed to track down the smartest deserter in just about a single day. Before they took Sun away, he went to see his grandmother one last time before returning to the army. He apologized sincerely for not visiting her, but he explained that he did it all to protect her. June, of course, didn't understand what he meant. On the way back to the base, Sun asked June why he had joined the construction crew that wanted to demolish the grandmother's house. That's when Sun began to tell the truth. He had joined the military in the first place so he could support his grandmother because she was getting older and needed constant care. That's why she had to be moved to a nursing home where she could be properly cared for. After he joined the army, he started saving money to help move her to the nursing home. But his commanding officer took advantage of his kindness and tricked him, stealing all the money he had saved. So Sun had no choice but to desert the army and earn money to take his grandmother to the care facility. After deserting, he found a company hiring construction workers to tear down the poor neighborhood where his grandmother lived. So he worked with them to save money. That way, he could help his grandmother and move her to the care home. He also said that he had always planned to return to the army on his own and that he was just waiting for the right time after ensuring his grandmother was taken care of. At that point, Han was deeply moved by his story, so he decided to help him escape the army and save his grandmother before she lost her life. He unlocked the handcuffs and told him to return to his grandmother on the condition that he would voluntarily go back to the army after placing her in the care facility and making sure she was okay. Sun agreed and promised that he would definitely return to the army on his own. He left, feeling happy and in disbelief. June was also shocked by what Han had done, even though he too had been touched by the story. Han then called the commander and told him that Sun had escaped again, and no one would be able to find him. Surprisingly, Commander Park wasn't angry at all. On the contrary, He just told them to return to the base immediately. The next day, both Han and Jun returned to the military base to continue their service. One day, Commander Park woke them up and told them that another soldier, a friend of theirs named Young, had gone AWOL. Young had been a kind and disciplined soldier, and everyone at the base had really liked him. But there was an officer named Roy and a soldier named Hong who were always beating up Young and mocking him. Because Young was kind-hearted, he never spoke back to them. Until one day, while Young was on duty, he encountered Officer Roy, who started mocking and hitting him again. Young snapped and attacked him in a fit of rage, beating him hysterically until Roy collapsed to the ground and completely lost consciousness. After that, Young fled from the military, and no one knew where he was. A few days ago, a webcomic he had drawn was uploaded online because he loved drawing and had always been drawing comics during his time in the army. At the end of the comic, there was a scene of him killing Huang to get revenge. At that point, Jun was forced to find Young as quickly as possible. Otherwise, the whole unit would be punished because a soldier had escaped, and their job was to catch deserters, not let them get away. So Jun went to the city where Young used to live before joining the military. There, he asked all of Young's friends, relatives, and even his girlfriend, but none of them had any idea where he was. Meanwhile, Han went around asking about Young at the base, but again, no one knew anything. Everyone was shocked that he ran away, because he had always been such a good guy. The next day, Jun visited the hospital. He spoke to Officer Roy, whose face was still covered in wounds. He asked him if he had any idea where Young might be. Roy told him that Young was always silent and never talked to anyone, and that's exactly why he and Huang used to make fun of him and beat him, because he never spoke up or stopped them. Roy was now convinced that Young was planning to get revenge on Huang, just like he had taken revenge on him by beating him. He was even more certain after seeing the comic Young had posted, the one showing him killing Huang. So he advised Jun to find Huang and keep an eye on him, because Young would surely come for him. Jun believed him and decided to search for Huang, since he had completed his military service just a few days earlier and left the base to return to his normal life. So Jun and Han set out to track him down and bring Young back to the army. They went along with 2 other soldiers who had helped them on a previous mission. Commander Burge also went with them. The 5 of them split up in the hope of finding Young as quickly as possible. Jun went to the bus station, and on one of the buses there, he saw Young. He tried to calmly talk to him, trying to convince him to return to the army and to stop his plan to kill Huang. But Young refused to go back with him. He thought Jun was just trying to take him back to prison for attacking Officer Roy, so he started fighting with Jun and beating him up. Then he quickly got off the bus. One of the soldiers tried to stop him, but Young pushed him, and the soldier fell in front of a moving bus. The bus ran over him and killed him. Young immediately fled the scene. Han chased after him all the way to a cinema in the city. There, Young tried to hide among the crowd, but suddenly, he stood up and threatened Han with the knife he was carrying. Then he escaped again. Here's the full English translation of your text. On the other hand, Jun goes to Huang's house. He tells him that Young is looking for him to take revenge and kill him. But Huang just mocks him. He says that Young is a coward and can't do anything to him. Then he kicks Jun out of the house. Jun goes outside and sits in front of the house, hoping he'll see Young when he arrives. When Young finally shows up, Jun runs after him to stop him. He chases him all the way into the garage. In the garage, Jun tells Young to stay back, because nothing will stop him from doing what he wants to do. Then Young pulls out a stun device from his bag and electrocutes Jun, making him lose consciousness. Young then heads up to Huang's apartment, but doesn't find him there. Suddenly, Huang appears behind him and hits him hard on the head with a blood-stained stick, causing him to fall to the ground. Huang starts beating Young while he's on the floor, calling him a coward who can't do anything to him. But it's clear Huang is scared and anxious, because he knows Young really came to kill him. At that moment, Young feels like he's succeeded. He made the man who used to mock and beat him now fear him. Young is overjoyed and leaves Huang alone. Young gets caught afterward, and they decide to take him back to the base. If they handed him to the police, he'd go to jail for killing his fellow soldier, especially since he pushed him in front of the bus. On the way, Yong seems like he's planning something. He hits Captain Park to cause a car accident. The car crashes into a wall. Captain Park and Jun lose consciousness, but Yong isn't affected at all. He takes off the handcuffs and escapes from the car. At that moment, Hwang is in the bathroom. He sees Yong standing behind him in the mirror. Suddenly, Yong attacks him and smashes him into the mirror before Hwang can even react. Yong takes him unconscious and escapes the house with him. The next day, the news spreads everywhere, and the entire police force starts searching for Yong to punish him for what he did. The base commander decides to send the secret unit to hunt down Yong and kill him, because if the police find out Yong deserted the army, the commander will also be punished. Jun and Captain Park are released from the hospital to find Yong before anyone else does, because Yong is a kind-hearted guy who never meant to do evil. At that moment, Commander Deok calls Park and tells him the base commander sent the secret unit after Yong with orders to kill him. Even the police are looking for Yong to arrest him. Meanwhile, Yong is hiding with Hwang in an abandoned tunnel on the city's edge. The tunnel has been deserted since the Korean War. He tells Yong no one can find that place easily, and that he can do whatever he wants there. Yong starts beating Hwang to get revenge for the abuse he suffered in the past. After some time, Hwang breaks free from the chair and begins fighting Yong. They get into a long fight until the police arrive. The police ask both of them to surrender. Yong attacks the police officers, and a fight breaks out between them two, taking advantage of the chaos. Yong escapes before anyone notices. Jun arrives at the tunnel to capture Yong after tracing Hwang's phone. The secret unit also arrives at the tunnel. Jun and Han enter the tunnel, and Captain Park tries to convince the base commander to stop the secret unit, as he doesn't want Yong to be killed. Inside the tunnel, Jun sees Yong fighting with the police and tries to stop him, but the police detective attacks Jun instead of helping him. Yong attacks them both and knocks them to the ground. He steals the detective's gun and goes after Hwang. Eventually, he catches up to Hwang and apologizes for everything. He tells him he was just joking and never meant to hurt him, but instead of calming him down, this angers Yong even more. He insists on killing Hwang to rid the world of his evil. At that moment, Han arrives and tries to talk him down. He says they were all wrong for not stopping Hwang back then, and they should have defended Yong. But Yong was kind and never complained, so no one really knew what he was going through. Han promises that what happened won't be repeated again, and if Yong turns himself in, no one will be able to hurt him anymore. But Yong still isn't convinced, and he insists on going through with his plan until Jun arrives. Jun tries to reason with him and begs him not to do it, saying he's the only person who never made fun of Yong. He tells him he understands the pain inside him, because he too used to get beaten by his father almost every day. He once wished he could kill his father, but he couldn't, because he didn't want to destroy his future. So he had to live the rest of his life hating his father and waiting for him to die. Jun tells Yong that while he was asking around in town, he met college students who admired Yong's comic art. Many of them wished they could be like Yong, so he urges him to give up the idea of killing Hwang, go back to university, and follow his dream of drawing comics. At that moment, Yong feels guilty and decides he actually wants to drop the plan and go back with them. But just then, the secret unit arrives and threatens Yong, telling him to drop the gun and surrender, or they'll shoot him. Yong panics and doesn't know what to do. He says his future is already destroyed. Even if he goes back, he'll spend the rest of his life in prison because of the crimes he committed. So he decides to end it all. He grabs the gun and kills himself. Jun breaks down. This is the second soldier to die while he was chasing them. He feels like a failure who couldn't complete his mission. Later, Jun visits the university where Yong used to study. He's clearly heartbroken about what happened to Yong. There, he sees Yong's artwork and drawings and meets Yong's sister. He gives her his condolences and apologizes, telling her that Yong was a really kind person who was loved by all the soldiers in the army. He tells her Yong died on a military mission and she should be proud to have had a brother like him. Jun feels guilty for what he said, so he leaves her and returns to the base. He becomes a sad, depressed person, especially after the commander is replaced with a new one. One day, The new commander gathers the soldiers and announces new rules. He orders them to follow orders so another Yang doesn't happen. He warns them that anyone who tries to escape the base will meet the same fate as Yang, death. At that moment, Jun decides he must escape. He can't stay in the army after everything he's seen. He doesn't want to see anyone else die. So he heads to the camp wall, ready to escape and return to his normal life once again.